Hello, it's Dr. Rafael Gutierrez. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm actually going to be using one of the models from work, and what I'm trying to do is I actually wanted to look into the a strike that actually I saw in Wing Chun. Now, there's a lot of people who will tell you, oh, this style works, this one doesn't. I tend to actually tell people, if you really want to know if something works, you actually have to go to the uh, pretty much the science, the clinical data, and see if there's any relevant reality to it. And I actually have seen this in a couple different videos. And it's a Wing Chun punch where they actually come and do repetitive blows at this level here, roughly the chest area. Now, you have seen my video on the fist, and you know that I actually prefer these two knuckles. Wing Chun will use these three, and there might be a reason for why they're using those three, especially if they're using blows to the body. You're probably not going to do much damage hitting yourself on something soft like the body. If you hit something hard like the head, yes, it will break. But and so that might be the reason. Now, one of the things that does happen is we actually have to look at clinical data, look at what actually is being said, look at what we're actually finding. And what we find is that there are certain things that do happen on accident. A lot of people will tell you, again, we'll talk about MMA is a great proving ground for martial arts, and it is. But a lot of times, the best proving ground in MMA is when there are injuries that are career enders. What I mean is, any technique that actually can end a career or pretty much end a fight immediately, those would be what I would tell you when you're dealing with self defense, you would want to use. The one thing that happens is every martial art will have something that is lethal in one way or another. Sometimes it's not done in the sport version of it. So, for instance, I was watching a video not too long ago on what they called the forgotten judo, and they were judo techniques that are actually in the old Kano style judo curriculum, which are not taught anymore. And the reason they're not taught is they're illegal in competitions. These are things that, if it were for self defense, would work great. But in sport, you don't want to seriously injure someone. We actually have seen a lot of serious injuries in sports with techniques that are not actually made to do that. Now, the technique I'm talking about is, I think some people call it the chain punch. I'm sure it has a Chinese name. And what it is it's just consecutive punches straight to the midline to pretty much the chest area. Now, if you actually feel your chest, you'll notice that the only thing there is your sternum. If you carry a lot of weight, usually it's on the other areas for your sternum. Now, this would be a technique that you wouldn't necessarily see in MMA for two reasons. One is, even with the limited protection that the gloves give, it is enough to keep it from getting the chest compression. But there are actually some MMA fighters who would actually be able to get enough force to actually cause this. Now, again, these are straight punches. You coming straight down the middle sternum area. You'll notice that there's only a sternum. And I do have a model here which I'll show you what's actually there. So if we actually were to take off, the chest, we notice behind the sternum, all you have is bone. And then you can see over here, you have the lungs here and the heart. Now that your target is not actually the chest. This is just going to cause some temporary discomfort. But if you're trying to attack the heart, you actually can have, if you're trying to attack the heart, you can have actually a lethal blow. And it has to do with compression of the chest repetitively hitting the heart. And there is something that does happen in sports. Sometimes little kids will get hit with a baseball and end up going into cardiac arrest. It can end up sending the shock, can end up sending the heart into what's called fibrillations. And if you actually take what the Wing Chun practitioners do, which is here, quick, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, going straight to the chest, going straight to the chest with repetitive punches one after another, every punch will have a chance to cause changes in the electrical activity of the heart. If that occurs, it can end up leading to the heart not beating properly. And if your heart's not beating properly, you can end up leading to death. So it is one of the moves that I found in Wing Chun, which again, I'm not a Wing Chun practitioner. I will look and actually, I will train with people with Wing Chun whenever I can, because I do find every art has something I can take away. And so that's one of the Wing Chun techniques that I will actually say could potentially lead to death. Now, why would I talk about Wing Chun and causing death if if I'm worried about other people using it? And the reason is this: to actually develop the power, to develop the ability to do it, takes a long time. And most people who actually want to go out and hurt someone don't really want to take the time to actually find out what they're doing. It's a lot easier to go buy a knife or a gun and cause damage than to actually learn a martial art to do it. And so, for historic references, and actually for people who are interested in why certain things were done before, I don't see an issue. If you disagree with me, please let me know, and I hope you have a nice day.